Today's interview is bad. It's all bad. And what we're talking about is Black Aluminum Dross. May not sound sexy, but it's a major problem with a major market that needs a solution. And why is that? It's a toxic byproduct of aluminum recycling, which presents a significant environmental and safety challenge. It contains harmful compounds like nitrites, heavy metals, salts, and worst of all, it often ends up in landfills where it risks leaching into soil and groundwater or releasing hazardous gases like ammonia and hydrogen when they're exposed to moisture. So, despite the scale of the problem, with over 45 million tons of bad generated annually, because listen, guys, aluminum's here to stay. So, you got 45 million tons of bad generated annually, and 95% remaining untreated. Viable solutions have been limited until now. That's because HPQ Silicon's France-based affiliate NOVACIUM has developed a revolutionary waste to energy, W2E. You're going to hear a lot about that. Waste energy technology that transforms that bad into valuable resources. In 2023, the global secondary aluminum market was valued at $99 billion. It's predicted to reach 150 billion by 2030, which means the problem is only going to get worse. Today, what are we talking about? Novacium files a provisional patent application for a new process to transform black aluminum dross into a valuable resource. Bernard, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. You hear me well?
I'm hearing you well, and I'm convinced you've hacked me because this is my second night in Dubai. And again, I get a call with the time zone change, I don't even know, saying, George, we got a press release. So, I'm going to start using my travel index as an indicator of when you'll be putting news out. This one came out of nowhere. All right. You've got four
Please,
legs to
guys.
the company. We'll talk about that. This came out of nowhere, right?
Mhm.
Um, where did it come from? I mean, we know from the press release that Novacium itself started this wheel turning about a year ago, but we really, most 99% of us, I don't think, knew about that. Where did it come from and why? Why now?
Well, in the creation of Novasium, of which HPQ is one of the founding members with the scientists there, um, it was always known that they would be looking at waste energy because it's always been a subject of interest for these scientists. And they started to do an investigation and got an idea because it is a continuation. It's a continuation of what they're doing. Okay, it's really a continuation of what they're doing, where they're moving, where the things are advancing. It's fundamentally a next step in their aluminum work. They've done a lot of hydrogen work, figuring out how to make hydrolysis work, make it more efficient, and they wanted to see if there was a way to recuperate, okay, the aluminum that was being thrown away, landfill, in a way that was economical. So it's always one of their ideas behind their mind. And then a year ago, they started to design a very specific process in a very specific program to see if they could identify a material to make the aluminum react better, more efficiently, the aluminum found in dross. And they did. So that's where really the process started.
Now, usually I would ask you a bunch of questions, but because this is so new and I want to hop to one specific part, which is third-party validation, because
Mhm.
I've seen press releases from other companies. George Com, take a shot. George Com is entering the W2E world, the waste to energy world. You're starting to see this all over the place, right? And like any hot buzzword, any hot industry, most of the time it's full of crap. But is this third party validation? You got two things here. First, you've got Dr. Kramer himself saying the project has progressed rapidly, yielding
Mhm.
highly encouraging results.
Mhm.
I don't know what that means. Nobody knows what it means, but those
You give me right
results,
to share,
whatever
I'll
they
show
are,
you.
but those results, whatever they were, have captured, quote unquote, the findings have captured the attention of several top tier European aluminum recyclers, several of whom have already signed NDAs. So
Mhm.
that's part one. And then you had an industry expert from Europe with a really long title, so I left that part out, but everyone's seen the press release, who said, quote, Black Dross has been a historic challenge for the aluminum industry, and for the first time, I am seeing an innovative and promising approach developed to address this critical issue. So that says a lot. So, first of all, do you consider? I consider that third party validation. Do you guys consider that third party validation? You've got top tier European aluminum sectors signing NDAs. You've got an industry expert saying for the first time he's seeing a real potential solution come across. And is that what
Yes.
differentiates you from everybody else that's trying to, play that game?
What differentiates us are the results. Okay. Because extracting hydrogen from aluminum found in black dross is a known process. Doing it economically is a completely different story. And that's sort of been our approach. Okay. If we could find, and we did, that's why we filed a provisional patent, a process, a material, okay, that could help improve the kinetic of the reaction of the hydrogen generation, okay, then we were in a very, very good position, because people have to understand that for traditional people that are trying to extract that hydrogen from the remaining aluminum found in black dross, bad, okay, they need to put an alkaline material into it, which costs money. Okay. So you had a material, you have to add cost into it. And second of all, the using of that material, while it does help the generation of hydrogen, okay, it basically corrodes the equipment. So your operating costs relating to fixing your equipment
Right.
and maintaining an operating standard, okay, were higher. So at the end, it was cheaper for aluminum recycler to say, I'll pay the €600, just get it off my property. Okay. That's becoming a bigger problem because they foresee that in the future, the cost of landfill is going to go up. If the paperwork hassle over transporting the material is going to go up, the environmental risk associated with that is going to go up. So for them, it's an immediate problem. So based on my experience, I can basically say that the preliminary reaction of all those companies was, oh, you seem to have an interesting idea. Let's study it. But luckily for us, it was just not NOVACIUM. If you take a look, it was also like serious scientific laboratories of the University of Lyon 1, okay, who give credibility. It's like the equivalent of MIT. Okay, so when they present themselves, it says, okay, this is part of a sort of like MIT France type of project, okay? Doing into it, third parties listen to you. Okay, so then they gladly sign NDAs to give us dross material so we can test. And but the thesis
Wait,
of
hold on. But does that mean they're just hoping in a prayer, or are they seeing something in
at
the
that
result that you've
moment,
shown them?
George, at that moment, we present them the conceptual idea. Okay, they like the concept. Okay, but now remember, we're much later on. This is at the beginning when they send us the material. Then the scientists came up with an idea of finding an alternative material that is also another waste of industry. Okay, so you have two waste, two materials that have zero cost for the generation of hydrogen. You put them together, and lo and behold, we get a phenomenal kinetic reaction. What does that mean? We generate twice as much hydrogen as the ordinary system, and it doesn't have the negative impacts of traditional alkaline. So, of course, because they were nice to you to lend you the equipment, we're under NDA, we then go present them our results. And then they get all excited, like we did.
And there are two, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see two more
Mm-hmm.
kind of tailwinds for you, which means support, not headwinds, tailwinds.
Yeah.
One
Mm-hmm.
is eventually their customers are going to be forced to be cleaner, which means they have to go backwards, and George Calm has to go backwards his supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
And if the aluminum recycler is not clean, then I may have to reduce my business with them. One,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
two, despite the fact that we're now more in a Trump administration and the more of a push around the world, am I wrong to assume that there's going to be more legislative pressure on aluminum recyclers in the industry to do better with this? So is that why they're, trying to maybe get ahead of it right now because they see that coming?
Okay, I'll divide the world in two. Okay. Europe, the regulation for the waste, the landfill part, okay, is going to be one of the motivating factor. Okay. But then you add all the advantage. You're not doing this. So eventually, because aluminum recycling is a very local event. Have read some material that says, within 60 days of you putting your cans in the recycling, it's back into a new can. Okay. So it's a very sort of like recycling is a closer circular event. The problem is with black aluminum dross is black aluminum dross is the one material that isn't fully recycled, okay, which basically doesn't make the entire change of recycling for aluminum
It never
circular.
enters the chain to begin with, and
It's,
just
it's,
never
it's
enters
the
the chain
chink
to
of the
begin with.
chain. It is the material, but basically we throw away some aluminum because we can't recuperate. Okay, so we take that material, okay, and we turn it into valuable resources. That's the fundamental concept of the patent. So in Europe, all the regulatory works are going to come into it. In the USA, which is, see, you have to understand aluminum. There's two types of aluminum. The primary aluminum material, which is what we make a lot in Canada because we're a lot of cheap electricity. Okay, so that's the first aluminum done. Okay, and then the recycled aluminum. Now, naturally, the problem is as you recycle your aluminum, you end up getting more and more junks into the material, and that becomes the issue. So you have to figure a way to treat it and get rid of it. So you always lose a certain percentage. It's written in the thing, you use about 30% of what was in the dross at the end is not recuperated, and 95% of that material is sent to landfill. So it's not just a bit, but it's 95% that's sent to landfill. Um, so you have a material and whomever deploys this strategy, okay, will get a cost advantage and will get a marketing advantage. They'll be able to say, my aluminum is 100% circular, no carbon footprint, no, it reduces the carbon footprint. It plays into it. So this is why everybody is sort of like cheerleading us to get to the next stage, which is the pilot stage and demonstrated work, especially knowing that we're using two waste material. And why do I keep addressing this? Is because making hydrogen through hydrolysis is a known factor. Okay. And since the hydrogen comes from the metal you put in and make it react with waters and the chemicals you make it to make it react with water, the energy footprint is the energy footprint of the material. In this case, since we take a material that is going to landfill, the cost is zero, the energy footprint is zero. And we take two materials, we make them react. That's why we make the greenest hydrogen. But instead of having the transportation issue with hydrogen and reprint it, no, we're just going to use it directly because the aluminum recycler requires a lot of energy. So we might cut their energy cost by anywhere from 2 to 5% by using their waste. That's a big thing because we get the energy from twofold, from the hydrogen.
So would you do it on site? Would your
It's
solution be
it's
on site?
designed to be on site. The goal is to have scalable modular system on site at aluminum recycler, so they have almost nothing other than recycled aluminum going to their client. They don't have any waste to deal with. They don't have any issues. Everything is clean. You clean and reuse. Okay. The only other thing they're going to ship is because the reaction exothermic, by default, it neutralizes all the environmental issues with the waste. So you then have a waste that meets the quality based on our research so far to be used as an additive in cement or in ceramic. So you take something that was costing you money, the landfill, and you make it something and reduces your cost, reduces your carbon footprint, and you have a sellable byproduct. So you don't have to landfill it.
So let's talk about the math because we know that 4 to 5 million tons of bad are generated annually.
Mhm.
Forget about the fact that 95% remain untreated. Let's might as well just say 100%. It will even say 4 million tons. And
Mhm.
from what you're, so let's run through the math there. When I say how big of a
Mhm.
problem are you solving, if I'm George Com, aluminum recycler, am I paying six? I think you mentioned this. How much am I paying
If
per
you're
ton to how much am I paying per ton to get the how much is the industry paying per ton for that to go into landfills?
okay, in Europe, we didn't study the numbers in the USA, so it's in Europe because usually I think in USA
Europe is
it's not
fine.
even it's okay. Anyway, it's a Trump era, so nobody's going to put any stickers into it. That basically, it's not the cost of landfill is going to be argued in the U.S. It's just the cost energy and recuperating your aluminum you're throwing away. But in Europe, it costs them $600 per ton to landfill. Now, what that $600
Dollars or euros?
euros, 600
Okay.
euros. What that does not include that 600 euros, okay, is the paperwork cost to fill that
Right.
because it's
Right.
considered a dangerous material that has to go to specialized areas, all the paperwork. So you gotta have a specialized person that works at your plant. That's so their only job is to ship the waste to be landfill. Okay. Then you gotta have a specialized carrier that's gonna take that material and ship it to the landfill. So it's easy to see they go from not paying 600 euros to probably saving about €1,000, okay, minimum using our system.
So you're talking if it's 600, just if you just take the $600, the 600 euros on 4 million tons, you're talking about it's a 240 to 300 million euro problem. It's a 240 300 million euro cost for them per year for the aluminum recyclers.
I think your number is a bit
Right?
low.
Because you're taking 600 times five times
Five
five.
million, 5 million. I think it's cool. It's higher than this, but Europe's not going to be 5 million. But let's take 5 million. 3 times 600.
Sorry, 3 billion. Sorry,
That's what I was saying. I
2.4 to
thought your number
three
was low.
billion. Sorry, my
It's
apologies.
$1 billion. Like, well, those numbers are big because that's five
So,
million is the entire of the
so
world. So
you're
there's
you're
some of them.
solving a multi-billion-dollar headache for
We
everybody.
are on
No,
our way to taking up a potentially $3 billion cost. Okay, and reversing that.
yeah.
So whomever is going to be the first one to deploy our technology is going to have a competitive advantage over all the other recyclers.
You have a lead horse in the ones who have signed the NDA? Are they? I know you can't mention names, but can you
No,
give us an idea? What's
at
their
this stage,
profile like? Are they little guys, or you got a couple of big guys in there? What does the profile of the guys who have signed NDAs look
they're
like
gonna
right
be
now?
middle sized guy like the company in Austria that gave us the Black Dross. But they're already excited. They would love to see the material. So it's like we'll have, and this is where the Swiss company who specializes in making equipment for dross rigs is all going to fit into it. It's all going to fall into place. The idea is to have a solution. So, the way I look at the math of the potential for HPQ Novasium and Novasium HPQ, depending how we look at it, is assuming that we end up resolving the problem for 500,000 tons per year of dross rate with our technology at one point. And we save them such an amount of money, but we say, okay, we'll get you the system, but you'll pay us $200, 200 euros, okay, per ton of dross rate that goes through the system and is converted. Well, make the math. That's a pretty significant. And for us, we're not running the equipment. We don't buy the equipment. It's their equipment. They do it. We just, because they're using our, so it's one business model that can be very big. So if you think about it, that could be a massive business model, which can be perfect for spinning out outside of HPQ later on, or
Yeah, it's
HPQ
another
Novation.
it's another great leg. I mean, it's the fifth leg now, right? That's
It's the fifth leg, and it's I would dare to say it's as advanced as fume silica was just before we announced the Evonik deal. So now the next stage is building up the pilot plant and getting those part of the system going. But once again, it fits the philosophy of and what HPQ looks to do. We don't want projects that require, $300 million to build a plant or those issues. We want something that is small, flexible, scalable, and be perfectly deployed. Because aluminum recycling is sort of a local business in the sense that all the shipping costs goes and plays in and out. So you're probably going to end up having multiple smaller size recycle. Like in the US, there might be one big company that's a leader in the recycling industry, but they probably have 100 sites. Okay. So you have to realize that in a Trump world, this is a perfect technology because we sell it to the American recycler. We don't import it. We sell the equipment, we get the royalty, and that's it. Because they need to recycle their aluminum, especially if they're going to put 25% tariff on the fresh aluminum, they're going to need to recycle even more their aluminum. So,
And let's face it, it's just good business anyways. It's not like this is driven by some kind of, climate change push and all the buzzwords ESG. This is George Colm Aluminum pays $600 a ton right now. If you can wipe that out, and I'm paying you, 10%
well,
of that is,
okay,
or whatever.
George
It's like,
Georgetown Aluminum pays $600 a a ton to get rid of a material that contains 30% of the remaining aluminum. So he's paying to throw away aluminum. We're
so
now
I'm keeping that 30% on
you're
top of
keeping
that.
that 30% aluminum because you're converting it into energy and electricity. So you use 100% of your aluminum. Okay. 100% of your recycled aluminum will therefore become a revenue generating system for the recycler. We will get a cut of that beautiful part of the profit, but we're not going to be building equipment, doing equipment. That's not our at this stage. That's not our
So the
business.
economics on this one, I mean, you don't have, like, the one thing I love about fume silica, I used to rave, was that one chart that you had where you're comparing your metrics with
Mhm.
the industry's metrics, and you're shattering everything. You're shattering
Mhm.
the emissions, energy use, the profitability, all of that. You don't have one here because you would have showed it to us, but are you thinking along the same lines? Is this a situation where you're potentially shattering the metrics
Well,
of
basically, we're not shattering a matrix because the matrix is the material is thrown away. It's as simple as that. It's
yeah,
like
yeah, no, I
you
get
you
that,
you
but
you you you,
you're
you it's,
shattering the
we're
economics of it.
shattering the economics in the sense that we're able to turn junk that goes into
Yeah.
landfill into money.
Wow.
And
Now, devil's
look,
advocate,
mhm,
you're at lab scale now, moving to pilot plant. So, I
mhm,
mean, everyone has confidence in what you guys have done in the past. There's some track record there.
mhm.
What's everyone's level of confidence, especially in NOVACIUM, that going from lab scale to piloting it, because you've always said, I remember you said that about fume silica. The big jump was, can you take it from lab scale and do it at pilot plant? Because then if you do, you're off and running to the races. And what's the level of confidence internally that you guys can make that happen for this?
I think the level of confidence is relatively high, and I'll say this for the following reason: um, the technology, the process that we're using is not unknown. Okay, what is different is the material we're choosing to mix together to attain that objective. That's literally where it is. Okay? That's why it's so different because our cost of making green hydrogen is zero. Now I can hear people says, "Oh, if that's your cost, you're going to be able to make green hydrogen everywhere else." No, because we need to have a recycled aluminum. The maximum amount we can do, okay, is the maximum amount of aluminum that can be recycled. Unless we find other material that can work the same way, but that's not our focus right now because that one's
No.
already that's already a big enough blue sky right there that we don't need to go be looking at other thing at this specific moment. Okay. So what we're doing is whatever is left after all the recycling of everybody else, which is about 30% of the aluminum that was originally in the dross. Okay. Um, we then turn it into material, and because of the material, we can end up getting twice as much hydrogen as all traditional process. So remember, to get half of the hydrogen we're doing, they have to spend money to get that reaction going. To get twice as much, we use a waste that costs us nothing. So if you look at the big pictures, it's a phenomenal technology that is definitely worth the investment to get to the next stage.
what does the cadence look like? Again, like always, I'm not going to ask for specific timelines. We don't do that, but give the your shareholders a sense of what the cadence looks like. Okay, when do you create a pilot plant or pilot situation, which then you can start sending samples to the aluminum recyclers who've signed NDAs? And then how long does it
No,
take
we
them to
don't.
figure out this? This seems like
We
might be a lot shorter on their end, but how long does it take them to figure out that, wow, these
okay.
samples are great?
No, that there's no sample for them to accept. Okay.
Well, they
They
want to
will,
see,
they will send us, they've sent us already their black draws. Okay.
right?
Black dross is black dross is black dross. There's no differentiation. Okay. If our system can convert it to hydrogen, it therefore becomes an exothermic reaction. All right. So hydrogen is hydrogen. There is no, they don't need to check everything back. We need to put it through our system, validate that we double twice, we make as much hydrogen as we, you know, estimated we would do, then all the maths is finished. For them at the end, it's just let's make the addition, how much money we save using your technology. Okay, we'll apply. Okay, it's an overly simplification. I completely agree with it. But it is not something like in the case of fume silica, we have to make the material. It then has to be shipped to the buyer. He has to approve it. What we are doing with that material is hydrogen. Hydrogen
Yeah.
is hydrogen. There's no differentiation. It's the same chemical formulation.
So as long
Okay.
as hydrogen is flowing,
As
it's a
long as
green light.
hydrogen is flowing, and since to get the hydrogen flowing, you will get an exothermic reaction. Okay. The only thing we will need third party approval, okay, is for, and that's the smallest part of the revenue stream, is for will it be a cement manufacturer that will accept the material? Or will it be a ceramic manufacturer? They were the only one, but that's pennies at the end. That's literally pennies at the end.
Devil's advocate,
Mm-hmm.
it's well established. You've got four legs, or you had four. Now you got five.
Mm-hmm.
But you had four variable, sorry, you had four very viable lines of businesses that are, for all intents and purposes, in various stages of commercialization, coming to commercialization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of third-party validation there. You've got French
Mm-hmm.
military, you've got Evonik, you've got across the board. Does it get to the point where this might be too much? Because you're not Apple Labs where you're releasing new products all the time and experimenting with stuff and bringing it, and you want to beta test it and all that. You're still HPQ Silicon. You're still resource constrained, which is people, money, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there any chance this is too much? A distraction takes away from the other things that are closer.
I would say no, because it's sort of, but I'm not going to be looking at anything else to add. There's nothing else. If everything, anything else we add, it'll be within either the fume silica, the silicone anode battery material. Metagene is going to be rolling by itself through the government, to the military grant. So that's it. It's sort of, I finally reached the point where I wanted to reach, which is a position where we at least have three verticalities, okay, that are 100% NOVACIUM HPQ, okay, which are our own, which is we're responsible for the timeline. We're responsible for everything that happens in that area,
Right.
okay. And I still have two ventures with Pyrogenesis, which is the fume silica and a 50-50 joint company, okay. We have the QRR, which will be used to make feedstock for our battery material, but our battery material was really us that controlled that part of the situation. So for me, it sort of reaches a point where 60% of our business is 100% sort of ours. And I say ours loosely because Novasium and us, but that's what I mean by ours.
But it's within
Um,
fully your control.
fully our control. And the other one, which is probably the first one that's going to be revenue generating, which is going to be the fume silica when the contracts of those issue, it's in a good position to run. So running the fume silica division doesn't take too much time because it's Pyro that's doing it. Okay.
Right, right, got
So,
it.
so the QRR will fit in at the right time, and those issues are there. And we're changing really, and it's really a philosophical change the way we've been doing this. As you will notice, we only announce our patent filing, a provisional patent, after we've actually done laboratory test work and validated that before. Okay. In the past, we filed a provisional patent even before we did the test, which got us into the situation of the nanoreactor, which I see a lot of people like to bring back, which was a lab.
No,
No, but
not a lot of people.
enough. Or a
Just
lot of people,
troublemakers.
or the same people bringing it back repetitively. But the concept was at lab scale. So now when we talk about something, okay, we validated lab scale, we've demonstrated work, we have empirical results that we can show people under NDA. We work with recognized laboratories. Not that the other issue wasn't, but it reaches a point. So we feel when we start talking about our technologies now, they're much more advanced. Okay, they're finished lab scale, going to pilot scale, which was a big difference of what it was before. So the time lapse is going to be different. I love the concept now that 3 of our 5 verticalities are now fully within the NOVACIUM HPQ control. And 2 are ones with Pyro. Pyro always said that one of their biggest constraint was their personnel. Okay, their R&D personnel, and which is true. So this is why for us, like, we're not going to be looking at doing other things. This is it. This is a great enough portfolios of
All right,
processes.
so there's not a sixth one coming out. Like, first of all, God bless Novacium. They're obviously creating incredible technology. So this is a good issue to be talking about. But
Mhm.
yeah, at some point, even if it's an amazing lab, I always like to call them labs because in the Web3 world, it's like, they're labs. But you don't need a sixth and a seventh and an eighth, not at least until you've gotten a
No, no,
couple,
we got no, no.
off the
Now
farm
now
and
now
running.
the logic is going to be get one to start to be to monetize it. Fume silica is going to be the first one. You start working on monetizing. Then you'll start working on, so you get fume silica monetized. It'll start running like a really independent company, have its own CEO to operate this operation, because it will be making material under contract to the big companies. So that's going to be a cash flow generator for the process. Then the other ones start moving in, and then maybe we'll put another one. But right now, the focus, we've sort of built our bench. Okay, we've built our bench of stories, which is enough to um, which is fundamentally enough for us to move forward. So it gives us
Yeah.
downside. When you end up buying a share of HPQ right now, okay, you then get these 5 verticalities. Okay, does the market fully reflect it? No, I don't even think it fully reflects one, but that's okay. That's the way the market is. At this specific moment, it doesn't reflect one. But once we fume silica, move, all those issues come into play, and we're dealing with large scale people.
It's good to see you posting back on Agoracom again.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason for that. It's not because we're friends or whatever the case is. It's the only place that's moderated and provides this great transparency. Some might post a question like Snowdrift today. I think there are a number of questions on there today, but someone posts a question, you answer it, everyone sees the answer, fully transparent, universally accessed. And let's face it, makes you so much more efficient now when you need it because you've got 5 legs rather than trying to deal with everybody individually. That's a
Mm-hmm.
nightmare. So on that note, uh, Snowdrift did post there are a number of questions we're gonna post. We're gonna have this one here for you, and then there are others on the hub, so you can get to those and interact with everybody. Subject: George, please look at this post before you interview Bernard. And we did. So, hey, George, I don't know if Bernard can answer this, but it would be great if you could ask him this question during the interview. Thanks, Snowdrift. Will Novacium's neo-hydrogen technology constitute a direct competition to Pyrogenesis Dross residue valorization technology? And he's referring to September 27, 2021. Pyro announced a joint venture with a leading residue processor to transform dross residues left over after drossite metal recovery into high-valued chemical products, i.e., valorization. And then on April 20, and then April 2022, they issued an update which says they're pretty furlong. I'm not sure what that part meant there, but anyways, you get the point. Is there a clash here? Is there any override? Is there any overlap here?
I don't think so. There's always going to be different ways of looking at the story. At the end, it's going to be the economics of it. Are we a direct competitor to the? We're not a direct competitor to the dross right technology, which is designed really and bit more efficient to recover aluminum from white dross. It can also recover aluminum from black dross, but we take care of the waste. Now, eventually, the question mark is going to be which of the two systems generates the most value of the material, and it really depends on the business model. If Paro's business model is that they're going to be doing some tolling, sorry, then it could be more an advantage to try to visualize it. But we'll see later on. But it's not really a competitor. I think it's a complementary option to be able to offer. Because it really will depend how much aluminum is left on in the black dross that is generated from their technologies. But no, we're not competitor. We actually presented, what we were doing at one point under NDA. They were pleasantly surprised and they wanted to know what's our special additive, which we didn't tell them. We don't tell anybody at this specific moment, but that was it. So no, we're not competitors. If anything, we're complementary.
And I've got to ask you as we wrap here, we got to ask. It's impossible not to. I mean, I'm going to be in Dubai for a while. So on the fume silica side, do you expect to be, how's everything going there? The good news maybe coming at some point? I don't know how to ask you less ambiguously because obviously, but what can you tell us about that?
I can tell you that there'll be some interesting news flow coming in the futures. I can't say anything before, but everything looks very encouraging. Everything is moving in the right direction. And I'm pretty excited about what's going on there. I want to look low key because this is really one once I want to have the material and get really excited about it. So at this moment, I'm going to be low key, but it can happen anytime. See, it really can happen at any time. So this is why I'm sort of like low key, but internally very excited.
Well, let's figure out if the George Travel Index is continues to be right, and hopefully that will be the case. And I'll be talking to you again from Dubai. But thanks, Bernard. Great stuff. I mean, tell the NOVACIUM team they're superstars.
They actually do watch your videos.
They do?
Yeah.
NOVACIUM, comment ça va? Great job, man, and looking forward to seeing this fifth leg, continue. And in the meantime, to everybody at home, thanks for watching, or thanks for listening in your car, or wherever you're doing this. And Bernard, we're going to see you on the forums. There's a bunch of questions waiting for you. So you're going to be on the forum to answer some questions?
When I have free times, I'll do it.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody at home. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was informative as always, and looking forward to seeing you next time. But until then, have a great day. Talk to you shortly.
Talk to you shortly.
Hey Small Cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agora.com? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agora.com small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.